Welcome back, TandLers, to another episode of TandL Talks, the podcast for, about, and featuring fabulous educators. Today we're diving into an event that blends joy, movement, collaboration, and math identity, all into one powerful experience for kids, the newly reimagined Marge Salmon 5th grade Math Relay. I'm joined by two incredible leaders in the Puyallup School District, Alexa Williams, our K-5 instructional coach for math, and Stephanie Garretson, administrative intern and 3rd grade teacher at Meeker Elementary. Together, they've poured heart, expertise, and vision into redesigning an event that celebrates math as something joyful, social, and accessible to every student. We'll talk about what's new, why it matters, and how experiences like this help build community, background knowledge, and confidence for our 5th graders. Let's get started. Hello, TandLers. Today we have our two leaders of the Math Relay. Can you please introduce yourselves?
I am Alexa Williams, and my role in the Puyallup School District is K-5 instructional coach for math.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Garretson, administrative intern and 3rd grade teacher at Meeker Elementary.
Great. Well, thank you so much for being here. We'll talk about the Math Relay in a moment, but I always like to start out with this question. Tell me about a teacher who was influential in your life. Maybe when you were a student or maybe even a colleague when you became a teacher yourself.
I'm just going to call out Brian Lowney because he was my high school administrator. He was the principal at Emerald Ridge when I was there 9th through 12th grade. And, you know, he was always just so inspirational about even and excited about sports. I played sports and just even the simple, hey, Alexa, how's it going? And then when I got done with my teaching cert, I came to Puyallup and reconnected with him and was really just eager to get into Puyallup. And so he was kind of a mentor for me there. And then also going into my administrative internship and then my first job as an assistant principal, he was very supportive and helpful for that. So he's always, and I still connect with him, so he's always just been super helpful for me.
Love that.
For me, it's probably Mrs. Jones. She was my 7th grade teacher and she taught English. And she really helped me develop my love of reading and turned me into a big reader. And she was just very cool because she was very no nonsense, pretty straight up. And I just really loved that about her. I think as a 7th grader would be such dumb. She kind of gave you that freedom to be an adult, but then she reeled you back.
I love hearing these stories from people, and almost always I hear what I heard from each of you, and that's that relationship piece, right? And I just think as teachers, we make such a huge difference in the lives of kids. And you forget that sometimes, but we carry our teachers in our hearts forever and ever, and they change the trajectory of our lives sometimes.
I don't know that I would have gone into my administrative internship or became an assistant principal when I did without Lowney's guidance.
Yeah.
I just probably would.
Nice. So let's talk a little bit about the Math Relay. It's coming up in a few weeks. What is the Math Relay and what inspired us to reimagine it for 2026?
I'll let Stephanie answer kind of the first one. What is it?
Well, the Math Relay is an opportunity for students throughout our district to come together and really enjoy. I think that's the biggest thing for me is, it's a lot about fluency and also conceptual understanding. And there's that purposeful learning about math, but it's also just fun. And that's what math should be for kids, is fun. They're going to go out there. They're going to be with a bunch of different kids all their age, and they're going to work in partners and get to run across Spark Stadium. And they're really excited about it. And I think that that's a good thing to build that excitement around math, because I think math can be really scary sometimes, and it should.
Yeah, and just that math identity, right? Like, how do we take math and make it fun, make it engaging for kids? And then you have those kids who love math and kind of likes physical activity, but you put one or the other together, and like we're all out there together and competing and just having fun, while we also give the students an opportunity to be on Spark Stadium, which is great. Like the first time you're on a big field, it just, I don't know, there's something about it that just is, it's great for those students who won't potentially be ever on that field again, right? Whether they switch schools or they don't participate in athletics going up. So it's just an opportunity for them to.
And Alexa, can you talk a little bit about why we decided to reimagine it and revamp it?
Yeah, I think that the last time we did the math relay was October of 2024. And during that time, there was a lot of talk about how we teach math and math fluency. And what does math fluency actually mean? Does it just mean quick and automatic? Yes, and, right? Like it's quick and automatic because it comes from a place of efficiency and that flexibility of numbers, and then the accuracy that comes with it. So as we were doing the math relay prior, it was a lot of really quick, how fast can you do your math facts, which is very procedural, versus do you understand what 12 times 12 actually means? Do we understand that multiplication is repeated addition? Do we understand how to look at an array and say, okay, 4 times 3, what is that? And so we just decided to align what was actually happening at the math relay to the most recent research around the definition of fluency and what we want our teachers and students to be learning in the classroom. So that was the really big push around that. I also think we did change some physical activities and some things in the math relay. So for example, students no longer go just independently. They go in partners for the purpose of collaboration. And we did change some physical activities, right? Like the jump rope is a great skill to have, but when there's so many kids out there together,
Yes.
and especially when you are with a partner, right? We want to make sure there's no injuries. So we're taking that jump rope piece out. So just making it more accessible, I think, for all students, and equitable is what we strove to do.
So if a fifth grader tells their family about the day at the end of that day, what would their journey through the day look like? What would they say to their family?
Well, we got to leave school. Yeah, I mean, that's the first thing.
Yeah.
And then I think like mentioning being at Sparks is a big thing. Meeker, we do our field day at Sparks every
Right.
year, and the kids are just like, whoa. So I think that will be another exciting thing. And I think that they should come away with, it was enjoyable. They enjoyed their time. They had fun. They got to arrive and see all these people and to line up and go through these courses, but also work with a partner, which makes everything less scary. When you're
Right.
doing something, and that they enjoyed themselves.
Yes.
They felt successful, and then they got home safely.
Yeah. And I think, right, like something as simple as also we got to leave school, and mom, dad, and uncle, guardian, right, they got to go on a bus to Spark Stadium. Like some
Right.
kids don't go on the bus. My
Right.
4-year-old son wants to go on a bus. He is very excited about going on a bus. And so sometimes it's just those little things that
Right.
kids don't get to experience unless something is. So I think also just the flow of the course, right? Like they go through, they run 10 yards, they do some jumping jacks, they do some math exploration and tasks, they run again, they do some frog jumps, and they sprint back. And then it's just this, they're cheering each other on. It's always been positive. And
Yeah. As you're talking to, I think we've done so much work with that concept of experiences and background knowledge and those incidental things that you're talking about, like being just physically at the stadium, about riding the bus. Those are experiences that just help kids with their thinking. And ultimately, we know their reading comprehension too. So Yeah, I just think, how global is this activity?
And when we think about math, one of the places that a lot of students struggle is with like word problems.
Right.
Because word problems are
Right.
set in the context of what we assume students might potentially know. And so the limited background knowledge that they have maybe decreases their access to solve that problem. And so sometimes we know the problem with math is reading.
Right.
And so how do we increase their background knowledge and experiences so that when they do come across a story problem about a stadium, they have this picture of their head of what a stadium is. And it just takes away that one piece of that something that might be a barrier for them
Right.
to then put their cognitive load into the mathematics.
Right. You're super smart. That sounded like a really smart answer. Nice job.
Trying.
Gosh.
What for your
So we've added more physical elements, like you talked about the frog jumps and the hula hoops and running at the stadium. Why was incorporating movement and physicality important to the design of the math relay?
I have some ideas. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think whenever you add physical movement, studies have shown that helps kids retain information. I also think having so many fifth graders in one space, let's keep them moving.
Yes.
And as a kid who was not athletic, it gives a chance for kids who are never going to do this to try. It's very low on that sort of physicality. So you don't have to be an athlete to do this. And so I think bridging those two is really good.
Yeah, I'll just reiterate, like anytime we can get movement partnered with learning, just like Stephanie said, studies has shown that the consolidation of that information just much better. I'm even gonna link it to our kind of in district right now. There's a lot of buzz around the building thinking classrooms. We're getting students up and moving and collaborating in groups and doing math. We're doing that same thing here at Sparks, reading them up and moving and collaborating and doing. So I think there's a great link.
Right. Which ties into our district-wide focus, too, of intellectual engagement this year, right? All fits together nicely.
I do want to also highlight that the one piece that we took out of the math relay was when students are doing the mathematics, previously, if they got it wrong, they got 3 wrong, you do 3 push-ups. We've taken that out because we know that mathematics should never be associated with like that feeling of quote unquote discipline. You got it wrong, so you're going to do these 3. So we took that out because that felt like we don't want students to be afraid to try because of fear of a consequence that really has no place in this specific relay.
And when you get something wrong, sometimes that's the best way.
Right.
You know, when you can see, oh, this is where I made my error, you can fix it in the future.
So this year, students are competing, as you said, in pairs instead of individually. What benefits do you see in emphasizing collaboration and teamwork?
I mean, so many things. I think even just when we were filming the video so that coaches can see what students will be doing, we had a student who struggled a little bit more paired with a student who felt a little stronger, and she was coaching him. She was giving him strategies. Look at it this way, try it this way. And it helped that student. And so it not only helped him learn because he was getting coaching from a classmate, but it also helped her learn because she was deepening her understanding by teaching him strategies to solve the problem. And they were very comfortable with each other. I know them because they were in my class, but they're not like best friends, but they felt that support from each other to solve this problem. And I hope to see that at the relay as well.
Yeah, I think it also lends itself to that social emotional piece, right?
Yes.
Like working with other people that have different experiences or different levels of understanding that you do, and how do you work together? Because in life we know, right? Like you are going to encounter or work with people that you think differently or understand something differently or approach something differently. And part of our job as educators is to teach students how to progress forward through those things in a respectful way. And so I think anytime you can have students work together with some facilitation of how to move forward, you're helping them with those life skills. So
It's one of those things that employers are really looking for in adults, right? They want to hire people who can collaborate, who can work together creatively, think of different solutions. So really, the Math Relay is helping kids find future jobs.
That's
I'm
what
sure.
That's what I said. That's correct.
Yes, this
So-
will help you find a job when you're grown up.
That's the title. Put it
Yeah.
on your resume.
Love it. How does the Math Relay provide access for all learners?
I think that kind of goes back to a couple of different things that we've said, right? Physically, we've decreased some of the rigor of the physical activities. And so it allows students who might need accommodations or support in that to work with others to get through the relay. I think by making the math tasks more conceptual versus procedural, or just you have to be quick and automatic, allows them to think through the process. We're also not timing them this year. A couple of years in the past, we were timing the schools to see, okay, your goal is to get faster every time. That can put a sense of anxiety for students. So we're lowering that for them to just simply enjoy the mathematics. The accessibility of the mathematics increases with the partners. And so also just bringing students together and giving them access to, again, comes back to that experience, background. We're making things accessible to them that potentially they wouldn't have had access to prior.
I also think with the partners, they're going to have kids. You get back fast. Let's go. We want to be number one. It's a lot easier to quote unquote fail when you have someone with you and to have less anxiety about, oh, I let our team down, when you're with somebody else and you're just getting through.
Alexa, can you talk a little bit about, you've done so much work with this, but that idea of timing kids doing math. We always had such a rich practice of doing, like I used to, when I was a teacher, we did math minutes and then we did rocket math, right? And what current research is saying about that.
Yeah. So there's a place for that accuracy and automaticity, and that in talking about fluency is phase 3 of fluency. And a lot of times what happens is we start with understanding the one-to-one correspondence and base 10, but we skip that part of phase 2 that they talk about number relationships and flexibility of numbers. So how not only numbers in base 10 and understanding that, but how do you build other numbers with some of those foundational numbers? And so when we skip phase 2, and phase 2 is really identified as that conceptual piece, digging deep into that, we go from phase 1 to phase 3. And so, yeah, I know what a 2 is, and times 2. Okay, 2 times 2 is this, right? But do you actually understand that what you're doing is repeated addition?
Right.
And so I could have a student complete 25 math problems and they've got it. But if I ask them to apply that to potentially a real world situation in which they have to be flexible with their thinking, are they able to do that? So I just think also that goes back to what happens when you forget that what 6 times 7 is, right? If I forget what 6 times 7 is, but I know what 6 times 6 is, I can do 6 times 6 and just add 6. Right. So I think that that is a skill that is super helpful, just even as an adult. We go from phase 1, do not skip phase 2, and then phase.
When I think of if a student's only skill is rote memorization of facts within a certain amount of time, if that's their only skill, like you said, then if they come across something that they don't know, they don't have any other strategies. If I don't have it in my head quickly, and if that's my only strategy, then I'm stuck. I can't move forward. Whereas if they have other skills and then when they understand how numbers work together, they can figure it out even if they didn't memorize it or have forgotten it.
But I think that kind of goes back to what Alexa was saying about word problem. If they don't have that conceptual understanding, yes, reading comprehension is a barrier for word problems. But also, if they don't have that conceptual understanding, then they won't understand what the problem is actually asking.
Right. And which also goes back to then they don't really know if they got the problem right or wrong or even in the ballpark, right? If you've got a story problem and you're figuring out how to solve that with rote memory, you could be thousands off and you don't know it because you don't have those skills to think about what the numbers are telling you for reals.
Yeah. I'll use an example. I was in a classroom the other day, and the problem was 23 multiplied by 30, something of that nature. And the students came up with the answer that was lower than 100. So if you understand number relationships and you understand, you have number sense, you're going to know that at least 25, right, times 4 gives you 100. So if I'm multiplying 23 times 30, that should be way over
Right.
100. And so just understanding those relationships in numbers. I'll also say, right, like I hear a lot, okay, well, the loops and group strategy is not going to work. They can't always do loops and groups. And it's like, yes, you are correct. So how do we push them to that next level? If they do loops and groups enough of 3 times 5, eventually they're going to know that 3 times 5 is 15.
Right.
So it's how do we push our students to that next level? We have some responsibility as the teacher to do that.
How do you hope that the experience of the Math Relay builds community, not only with individual fifth grade groups, but across the district?
There's a part of me that is always excited to have parents who are excited to also be a part of the Math Relay. They want to chaperone, they want to come, they want to see what's going on. And that is a great opportunity for them to come and support their students in mathematics and be with their student and the classroom teacher, and then be in a space where the principal is potentially, right? And so just have that conversation and ability to say, hey, I really, really loved what I saw down there. My student really loved it. And potentially it changes the way that a student thinks about math or relays, right? Or just like the physical aspect of something. Again, I think the community part is Spark Stadium is a huge part of our community here. So when you're bringing students somewhere for potentially the first time, like that just kind of builds a buzz in itself. What do you want to?
Well, I also think Sparks is a very visible part
Mm.
of our school district. And so people go down that road, they walk constantly down that road to see kids participating in, maybe they don't realize it's math, but they know it's something. I think that's a great way to show the community what we're doing and how we're making learning fun, these events that we're putting together to encourage that growth.
Right. What are fifth grade teachers and PE partners doing behind the scenes now to help kids prepare for the Math Relay?
I mean, the idea should be that when a kid comes in, that they have all the skills that they
Right.
need. But I also think that they're making sure kids are comfortable. They know what they're going to be doing and connecting that fun and enjoyment with math. But also, it's probably varying from school to school. I don't know. Maybe some schools have them out there running practice runs. I don't know. But at Meeker, I think that our teachers are just mostly focused on fluency, conceptual understanding, and how they go hand in hand. And it's not if that or that. And so I think that they're just focusing on building that. Like you need to understand what a model is in order to be successful in the relay. So that's what we're.
I would say they're partnering with some PE teachers is what we put out in the guidance, that you potentially might be using your PE time to practice those physical skills so that when you do go to the Math Relay, at least you've done the skills before. It's not new. And potentially all the schools are practicing with the PE and potentially some are practicing with their classroom teacher. But I think it varies, which also makes it kind of fun and interesting. Everybody's
Right.
coming with something different and it'll be exciting.
What do you hope students feel at the end of the day?
I think I want them to feel just successful, whatever that means for them. If that means that you worked in partners because you really struggled to work with a partner, but you did it because you were excited, then that's success for that student. If success for that student is getting through 3 conceptual understanding multiplication problems then that's success for that student. If it means that a student just makes it to Sparks Stadium because they have a challenge with leaving or going to a space that's unfamiliar, that's success for that student. So I don't know that I can just outwardly say, this is what I want everyone to experience because of this. It's really individualized by, which it should be.
Right.
That's what teaching is. That's what learning is. Success looks different for each person and student.
Yep.
I was going to say the exact.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it does look different for everyone. And I hope whatever success that they have, that they walk away feeling a positive relationship towards math, towards working with others, towards leaving their school, riding the bus. I just hope that it's a positive, a net positive.
Well, thank you both for being here. I want to do a couple shout outs before we totally end. First, this is named the Marge Salmon Math Relay. And Marge Salmon was a longtime teacher in Puyallup when we started this episode and we talked about teachers who made a difference. Marge Salmon is one of those teachers who made a difference for a lot of kids who are now grown-ups and teaching in our systems. It's nice that we have something so special to honor Marge Salmon. Also, I would love to do a shout out to two people who started the original Math Relay years and years ago. And I'm not just saying this because one of them is our boss. But the Math Relay started, I don't know how many years ago, but Amanda Kraft, who is now an executive director here in the Puyallup School District, she started this as a fourth grade teacher, and she collaborated with Greg Farias, who was a PE teacher, and they had this vision and they built this. I think it's such a good example of the legacy that leadership can leave. They were leaders years ago. You two are leaders now, taking over this and making it even better.
And Greg is still helping us.
Yes.
Awesome. And he will get something free donated. That man can get free stuff. Like, I just have never seen anything like it.
Yeah. I appreciate you bringing Greg into this, and just the partnership with him has been super helpful. And going back to what you stated about community, the community, like our Puyallup Police Department is a part of this, right? They go and they block off the roads for us in advance. Our Rogers ROTC is a part of this, so now we're getting them involved. Callis and Aylin leadership teachers and students are going to come over to support that. When you asked about community, I actually missed a whole bunch.
Right.
Community is coming together at different levels, elementary, junior high, and high school, to support this activity, this half-day activity for students to be a part of. So I think when we think about all those connections, that's maybe now students are like, oh, those are the leadership kids at Aylin or Callis. I want to do that.
Right.
So that's also another connection.
Yeah. Creates that vision for kids, right? And as much as they might like their teachers and all of us who are grown-ups, what they really care about are the kids who are a few years older than them.
So always remember the names of the kids older than you.
Yes.
The kids younger than me, I'm like, your face.
Right.
No, it's a good opportunity for all.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for being here today. And thank you for your leadership. I'm excited to see what happens on March 24th.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us today, and a huge thanks to Alexa and Stephanie for their leadership, their passion for math instruction, and their commitment to making learning meaningful and fun for kids. The reimagined Marge Salmon Math Relay honors decades of strong teaching, creative thinking, and community partnership. From the original version of Amanda Kraft and Greg Farias to the many educators, PE partners, principals, and volunteers who make this event come alive. As we look forward to March 24th, I'm reminded that when we come together across classrooms, schools, and grade levels, we don't just build math skills. We build confidence, memories, and a sense of belonging for every child. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to like it and follow TandL Talks on your favorite podcast platform: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or iHeartRadio. Every follow helps more educators find us and add themselves to our growing community of Tandlers, because joy multiplies when we share it. Thanks for listening, Tandlers. Until next time, keep teaching with purpose, keep learning with joy, and keep growing, because every child's journey curves toward possibility when we help guide the line of their learning forward.